Hey everybody, welcome to the FreeMind Podcast, the realest thing on the internet. There are no scripts, there are no questions, there are no prep meetings, there is no boardroom, there is no agenda. It is two real people connecting in real time on camera for all to see. Let's check out the story.
So my government name is Warren Weitner. That's what my parents blessed me with. My artist name, I'm releasing music and kind of long form content under right now, is Reverend Grey. I had my first single under that name come out 2 weeks ago. I have another one lined up in the next 2 weeks. And I have a release scheduled every month for the rest of the year. Just about.
Awesome. That's awesome. And so you do pre-plans as well as as well as improvisational things that you put online as well.
Tons, man. So there in the new music economy, you kind of have to have your finger in every pie. You know, just like you have an investment strategy, you have kind of long-term investments that you know will pay over time, and you have some riskier short-term stuff that you do. The same is true for most musicians, you know. So I have like a long-term strategy of releasing music, things like that, to Spotify, growing an audience there. But I also do live streams just about every day on TikTok. It's been a really amazing way to meet new people in real time.
That's really awesome. And I've recently I did not get into TikTok in the extent that I have in the past few months, and reaching out to people like yourself and seeing how that like you said, it's the new modern world that the economy of a musician is so different now, and seeing all the different platforms, and the live part is so intimate. It's really, I mean, it's just like to put yourself out there in a vulnerable way, and whether it's your dog coming by, or the string strapping on your guitar, or whatever it may be. A lot of people don't make that leap to go live. They'll do pre-records and schedule and everything's good and stuff like that. So talk a little bit about what was that driving factor to going live?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So that's kind of a trend I've noticed online. The main media I focus on right now are Spotify and Instagram, if I had to choose kind of two. And it was really funny. I am 27 now, so I kind of grew up through the scene days. You talk about early Facebook, and that was kind of the death of MySpace, and that was prime scene, on YouTube too, though. And I remember growing up, like some of the most popular hit videos were some real low quality girl with a ukulele in her like bedroom on the floor, and like the screen is pixelated, but
Grace, she was on America's Got Talent, and then she had a nice
Grace
run on YouTube. Grace Vanderwall,
yeah. And I remember seeing those videos, and they seemed to capture just kind of an emotion in a moment of time that a lot of angsty kids kind of connected to. And in my head, moving forward on social media, I was like, I like that. I want to do that. And so I think it's really interesting now that many of the successful musicians, even my friends, they don't post videos of them performing live. Like if there is a video, like there's no audio, or it's audio from their Spotify overlaid on top of the video. But so few artists I see actually sing and play their songs by themselves in front of a camera, that like I think for one, it's kind of a lost art. There's a risk to it. It's kind of scary to show if you have any chops or not to do it live. And then when you're performing live, there's a lot more forgiveness, I think, when you're on a stage and you have a band behind you and 100 people have agreed to show up, that like there's this other element there apart from the music that kind of cushions your performance. Like crowds can be, depending on the size, I think the smaller sometimes the easier it is to manage. But in more like listening room settings, I've seen like musicians kind of fuck up on stage, and the crowd like cheers them back into, the moment. Like they encourage them to get back on track, sort of, which is kind of funny to me. I think it's really cool that people do that. I think a lot of musicians are afraid of playing live, just them and their instrument. And I started as a live musician, and I spent a lot of time playing in really terrible bars and restaurants in Dallas and wineries where people did not want me there. The business thought it was a cool idea to host music nights, and have an artist come out and play for 3 hours at a time. But a lot of people would just rather listen to the radio, I think, than have someone talking, which is kind of funny. But
How old
that's where I got my start.
how old are you, Warren?
I'm 27, just turned 27 in
Okay,
March.
nice. Yeah, so we have a 10-year gap in between us. So like, yeah, so when I got started was I started out in 2008. And so that would be around the time that I was always into music. I was in a band in high school, and I quickly realized that I was really bad at playing music, but I was really good at the business side and the sales side of music. So I took my love for music and transferred it over there, and wiped away my ego and the drum set, and put it aside and let it collect dust. But I met some incredible people, and I love that when you brought up like a lot of times in the past few episodes we've had CEOs and founders of these corporations and companies and stuff on here. But there's really nothing more intimate and inviting of an environment than sitting in a back of a bar while somebody's expressing themselves, via music. And I say that in the way of like, it takes me back to when I was a kid and going with my parents to Shenandoah National Park. And some of my fondest memories are the singer-songwriters and folk musicians and stuff like that would play at the different restaurants in there. And just spending that time sitting there for hours at a time. Like, we'd eat dinner quickly, but then we'd still stay there. And I'm sure the waitresses needed us to move along. But you find something and you connect with someone, and there's a power in grabbing someone's attention with your art, from an audible standpoint as well as the visual standpoint.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, what, like you say, the singer-songwriter with just a guitar singing their songs, that's one of my favorite ways to experience live music. I think it's really rare, especially when people get more success. They want to bring a higher production value to their show. I get that. I I think there's an unfortunate that it doesn't overlap necessarily what is marketable and what is profitable for either like a restaurant, a venue, a band, and what really leads to like real connection between an artist and their their fans or like people that they see live. I love a house show. Like I love a house show. I love a stripped acoustic set. I think it's one of the purest ways to experience music. Like Nirvana's famous MTV Unplugged set. Like I think that's one of the coolest ways you can see a band, kind of stripped of all the pomp and circumstance. But at the same time, like like Taylor Swift tours are like theatrical events that like you'll never forget the things that you see on stage. Millions of dollars and thousands of hours goes into that kind of production. So
It's
I think
interesting you
that's
brought up.
a
Yeah.
remarkable thing too. It's just
Yeah,
not what I do.
it's wild. Yeah, it's wild. Like when you do that. Like I grew up, same thing, house shows, bar shows, things like that. You'll love this. We actually, a buddy of mine, when I first started this business, FreeMind, we rented a cabin because we were so tired of all the hotel fees when we were bringing all the bands into the town. So we just rented a cabin, and then it was just like where they all went and stayed. So they would have like pop-up improvisational things with the other musicians while they're in there. We would just stock the fridge and keep everybody had a place to kind of settle into for the weekend. And then we booked events around the driving area. So, but every night had a kind of a comeback place, and it brought a real bonding experience for the musicians. And it was also fun when you had multiple musicians inside that cabin at the same time, everybody meeting each other for the first time and just kind of having a good time together. And
there's such a cool synergy around musicians, meeting each other, because there's this whole like unspoken language that like all artists kind of have, but I think especially an artist in your medium, it's like really funny for me to watch musicians meet. And I think it's so cool when something almost random or novel arises from those encounters. Like songs are written, bonds are formed, licks are shared. That just doesn't happen if you don't actually touch someone, if you're not in the same space as them.
And talk a little bit about what that means today. I mean, obviously, you have an opportunity to go out and play places. There's not as much opportunity to improvisationally go out as much with a lot of places. And I don't speak anecdotally from my area. There's not as much live music out as now. Obviously, bars and restaurants are struggling to do that. What's the change? How did you change that psychology and embrace the digital side of the distribution of your music?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I live in a great little music town. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. So it's kind of a small sort of liberal arts town tucked away in the mountains. So there actually is a good bit of opportunity if you want to go to a live jam or like an open mic or like a bluegrass kind of round or songwriter round. I'm fortunate that there is kind of a lot of that here. But so my story, I released a 4-song EP 5 years ago, was my first release into the world. And my next release was last week. So it's been 5 years since I released music digitally. And in that time, apart from COVID, most of what I did was play live shows. And I noticed even when I was playing a big venue, even when I was opening for a bigger band, a bigger act than me, when I played live, there was very little conversion from my experience with the people there at the venue. And then like my social media, for instance, or for streams on Spotify. And so you have to make this trade because like playing live as a gigging musician is how you make money. You sell a t-shirt, you get a cut of the door, you get paid to play for a couple hours in a restaurant. You playing live is how you typically make money as a gigging musician. But I noticed that the shows I would make the most money at were the ones I was least interested in artistically. Like places with a nice budget to pay me well often weren't full of people who really were interested in music. They were there for other reasons, for whatever that may be. And so I, live, want to play cool shows. I want to be in a room with people who care and are kind of primed for it. Like I would understand if I was someplace not expecting music or there to see another band and I had to sit through something I wasn't expecting or didn't necessarily agree to or want. And so my goal has been to be a band that people want to come and see, so that when I play live, it's full of people who are primed and desirous of the experience that I provide. So that's why I've chosen to focus digitally, at least for kind of this season or stage of my career. I want to offer value to people for free, essentially, because that's how music is now. You have to give a lot for free before anyone ever pays you for it. So I want to build a body of work so that I can play shows to people who have heard my songs and want to hear more. I think that live is a totally different art than being a studio musician. And I'm kind of weird in that I really love both. Like I'm talking to you here in my home studio where all my music will be produced from now on. I do 100%ers, so I write, record, produce, mix, and master everything from the ground up. And it's taken me several years to get good enough to present something of quality that people can enjoy and that I'm proud of. But I also love playing live. I have a loop pedal that I usually use. I've played with a band before. But I love the creativity of live. I love the fear of live, like how absolutely terrified I am up there. It gives me a chance to try to reconcile some really crazy emotions. I am nowhere near like a master of the stage, I think very rarely when I'm on a bigger stage have I been able to have like clarity where I feel like I'm in the moment and enjoying it, not just trying not to make a terrible mistake in front of my friends and family. But I really love both.
Yeah, it's I can tell, and I only caught your stuff in the past few days and reached out to you and really connected with you as far as that goes. I'm really looking forward to following your journey, and in this, there's two things that I appreciate the authenticity of what you do as well. Is my friends and I like love Saturday Night Live, but we love Saturday Night Live the outtakes and the breaking points. You know what I mean? When the people lose character and they're real and they're genuine and authentic. That to me is funnier than any scripted skit that they do. Yeah. And I appreciate the fact of where you do with the live thing part, as well as there's a difference that I'm realizing now with putting things out there that I don't know why. It was probably my arrogance in my younger years that I didn't get as worried. But now when I make things and put it out online, if I was standing in front of people and I was giving a speech or anything like that, if I messed up, I could recover at any moment. Now, when you put it up and you package it and you put it out on the internet, there's no way to recover. I mean, you can recover, but my point is not with making a mistake. But I mean, if there's ever a tweak you wanted to make or anything like that, you can't do it in real time as well as you can online. And I think I want to say that I appreciate, again, not just the being live part, but you're really at going out there. Like I've gone through your clips and listened to your songs and stuff like that. And you're going out there, you're consistent. And that's really what it comes down to, because most people think they're just going to put one song out there and, oh, well, nobody heard it. Or they put their fifth song out there and nobody heard it. Oh, well. And it's like, they don't get it that like it takes 50, 60, 70, 100 songs or not songs, maybe posts or whatever vehicle you want to engagement you want to use, you know. Which song would you like to do first?
I would love to do Let Me Out. That's the one that I just released under this name, Reverend Grey.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, man.
Tell me about Let Me Out. So what was the origin story of it? Walk me through when the concept came through. Give me the entire environment. What were you doing? Who was around you?
So Let Me Out has a cooler story than a lot of the songs I write. For about a year, I streamed pretty consistently on Twitch, and really to no one. It was kind of an abysmal experience, singing your heart out for zero, literally zero a lot of the time. But I would use my loop pedal, and I would kind of just build songs. And one day I was playing with an idea. Like I think I had maybe beatbox something, and then put down a couple of chords, and I was like, oh, this sounds cool. And that day I happened to be recording through Ableton, is my digital audio workstation that I love to use. And I happened to be recording the set, and I came up with this chorus and just a couple chords and a little beat, but I saved it, and I usually don't record my streams like that. And I kept playing with it, and I was still on live, but no one was watching, so I felt no pressure. And so I started to like do a really rough outline in my recording software on live of Let Me Out. And so I wrote the song streaming live on Twitch in my recording software, which is something I had never done before. I'd also never written a song using recording software first. Like usually it's a voice memo, you know, usually I'm like hashing out the lyrics in my bedroom, and then once I have kind of a rough draft, I take that and make a scratch track. But I literally built it in the stream, from the stream, something I was just playing on. And I even got to use some of the original vocals from that stream in the song. They're not, you know, they weren't as quality enough as I wanted for the produced version, but they're in the background still. I still kind of snuck them in, a tidbit of it. So it was my first time ever building a song live. And that became Let Me Out. You know, I took it off a stream and was like, oh, this is a great idea, and then fleshed it all out in the studio. But it was really cool to just have a spark of inspiration and then instantly be able to kind of put it on the canvas. And that it happened in a moment when I was streaming was really cool.
Yeah, and to be able to capture that on camera is really cool unintentionally as well. I mean, again, we're talking about, I mean, what a great experience that must have been.
Yeah, I think I found out afterwards though that because when you're streaming, you have to do a lot of signal chain processing sort of to make sure your audience is hearing the same thing you are. And I think I was muted to the audience. So like the video is of me like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I like this. Y'all hear that? That's cool. That's neat. Playing around, but I'm just miming. It's just all muted. Yeah, it was kind of silly.
That's awesome. I've been out to Asheville multiple times in my life prior in the beer industry. I used to represent New Belgium Brewing Company and a few other ones in that area. So I was down in that area quite a bit. And some dear friends of mine that I've known for almost my whole life, they retired and moved down and have this cabin on the top, this beautiful cabin on top of a mountain called Mountain Tea Studios down in Asheville as well. And my buddy Morgan and I, we went to high school. Yeah, he got married down there and stuff like that. It was a cool. That wedding was pretty cool. It was a very Asheville way to have a wedding. We all stayed there and brought tents and like literally like camped out. And then the ceremony was in between all the tents. And then we just never left the top of the mountain for the whole day. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Not a stick of deodorant in sight.
No, not at all. Yeah.
The Asheville way, baby. All natural. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's and I've been down there a couple times, and I taught for Wicked Weed and a few other things, and checked out some live music down there. And I'm actually kind of curious now. Like I'm dating myself and wondering when I was down there and see if when I was roaming around, if I caught you in one of those bars every once in a while.
No, I can't imagine you did because I just moved here like 9 months ago now. I've been here nine
Oh, I missed
months.
that. I'm sorry, I missed that when you just said that in the beginning. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. Yeah,
I'm brand new here, so probably not me.
nice. Well, that's a cool area between that and Sierra Nevada out there and Dale's Pale Ale. They got that
Yeah,
BMX bike path and all that stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
live music is it's a great area to be in Asheville for the arts and live music.
it really is. Yeah, I do think the economy is a little more geared towards like regionally and nationally touring acts here. So like if you already kind of have an established fan base, it's a really natural stop for you because there's a lot of consumers of music here. Um, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of like infrastructure for people like me who are trying to kind of make a break a little bit. There is some, but it's not a huge population in Nashville, you know? Like Dallas is like several million people in the DFW metroplex. And so it's a little more competitive there. You have a better chance of kind of breaking out, it feels like, in a big area. But I didn't come here to
Yeah,
break out. I came here to hide.
well, that's the beauty. See, that's the beauty of the remote world, and especially like I like following people like yourself that embrace technology and the digital part, because you can distribute yourself so much. I mean, if you're looking to distribute yourself and just get out there and engage with people, I mean, we've all been there, we've all stayed there and done the corners and everything like that. But it's like, there's nothing different from distributing yourself and putting yourself out there and letting people find you. And then that's the other part is it's like when they're finding you online, they're finding you as opposed to you go out and following them. So you're not following them down and saying, hey, listen to my music. It's like they're coming into you and all of a sudden that barrier to engagement is gone, and you can really embrace what's going on there.
I really believe in kind of like synergy as a concept is something I'm kind of always focused on. And being online really just feels like playing the lottery. Like I mentioned, there's kind of long-term paths to success and short-term ones. But at this point, I've had several friends, man, just have their lives changed by one video, you know? And I really believe that's a possibility to like connect with just thousands, if not millions, almost in an instant. And like the idea that that is possible really always makes it feel worth it, to be online. I do feel like I'm
It's
finally at like a stage in my career where it's more about just getting people here to the art that I've created, and then everything else will follow after.
there's a common theme that's coming out organically in these episodes, and it's the showing, not selling. And it's that comfort in being like, this is who I am, this is what I do. I'm not going to predict whether or not you like what I do, but I know that I'm going to do what I'm doing. And if you're into this, you're going to really like it. If not, it's not for you. And that's not because I'm bad, not because I'm a shitty musician. It's because it's not you. And everything's like a taste bud. Music is one of those things that, too many times I feel like I'm in conversations and it's not transcribed, or it's not compared to food in the way it should be. And that's going to sound really weird in a way that I'm going to tell you, but it's about that palate. And it's about that everybody's palate is different, and that neurogastronomy that exists when you're eating food and trying different things, and it's reminding you. It's the same thing with music. It's just through your ears. And it's like one of those things that it's underrated. And music is a completely underrated connection. And in the way that today is with the world the way it is, music transcends language. It transcends political beliefs. It transcends racial beliefs. I mean, it's one of those things that, why are so many people, like sometimes people are just afraid to admit that, I guess. It's like, if you want one common denominator to stop being so divisive, it's throw a track on and let the room separate and see who's tapping their feet and who's not.
Yeah. You articulate that really well. This idea I used to have that like I was so desperate for people's attention on the things that I was doing that it often made me compromise what I was doing so that I would act or behave or create in a way I thought people would like, which I've come to realize is completely impossible. And now I don't want everyone to like what I'm doing. And I almost think it's important that there are people who really don't like the stuff that I create to be good art. I think that necessitates good art, that it causes some kind of reaction, good or bad. And I'm no longer looking for everyone to like what I'm doing. I'm simply looking for the people who like what I'm doing. And the internet's made that quite a bit easier.
It's the same thing, and in the way of protecting our art and our expression, you know, a year ago or 6 months ago, for example, right before we hopped on, a guest that was coming on later today, and tonight went through and canceled because there was no prep meeting. And I made it very clear that there's not a prep meeting. It is, if you listen to the episodes, you'll understand what it is and the concept, but we don't do any prep or anything like that. And they abruptly just canceled. And it was just like one of those things where, how can you blah, blah, blah. And I was the first, you know, 6 months to a year ago, I would have been like hurt, and I would have been like, oh man, and I probably would have wrote him back and said, oh no, please. But today I just, oh well. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's a oh well, because people like yourself that took the chance, that people like yourself that embrace that opportunity and have an open mind, those are the people that I want on the show. And that would be inauthentic of me to go chase someone to be on the show. That's why my introduction is what it is. It's one line. It says, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Everybody I send it to gets the same line. I don't make it any different. I've sent the same line to Mark Cuban, to Adam Duritz, to you. You know, it's like, and people respond different. It's interesting to watch how differently people respond to. Some people get offended by that line. Some people can't. They want more context. It's just very the human experience of watching people's reactions to that one statement is quite fascinating so far.
Yeah, being an artist, I think no's are just as important as yeses. And even like your own personal limitations aren't necessarily negatives as an artist. They become the things that dictate your style, you know? Like one of my big influences musically is Bon Iver, and he famously recorded his first album in a log cabin out in the wilderness by himself with a terrible like 8-track machine or something. He was just like, had really rudimentary equipment with him. He wasn't in a nice studio, but like those limitations shaped the sound he created on For Emma Forever Ago is the album. And it's so unique. It sounds like nothing else you've ever heard. And it's because he didn't have access to like nice studio equipment the whole time, or a sound treated control room, or an engineer right next to it. And that's part of what makes it so beautiful. I think a lot of people get hung up before they ever create something because they're like, I don't have this nice studio. I don't have these nice mics. In your case, it might be like, I don't have anything to offer my guests at the moment. Like, I'm not going to pay them a huge budget. I'm not going to invite them to the Four Seasons, you know? But you can let those things stop you from ever creating something, or you can embrace your limitations and say, I want to find out what I can make with what I have. And that becomes so unique and so special and so beautiful in a way you couldn't do with a huge production budget, no matter what medium you're approaching. Oftentimes people want the completed result before they ever start, you know? Like, I want to be a great singer before I ever sing online. And it's you don't get the egg without the chicken, you know? They're kind of mutually arising. You become a good singer as you sing.
I realized as we were talking and we're sitting here talking about genuineness, and I went through and I went to an old habit of, oh, we'll cut this in post-production, we'll insert the video here. And I realized that that's not as authentic as I want to do. So if you will, you still there with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So what I'm going to do is I want to play this live while you and I listen to it live together, because that's the way that that's the way this should be done.
This was uploaded yesterday.
So here we go here, and make sure all the stuff's here. All right, Warren. If you want to do an intro there, this is Reverend Grey with "Let Me Out." Wow. Sorry. Yeah, well, that part I'll have to edit out afterwards. Right.
You're
So,
good.
hey, wow. I'm not gonna lie. I've listened to the song way too many times by now. It's not healthy.
Yes, yes. I
All right.
love that.
So I gotta be real with you. So first what caught me and where I want to go into, and I'm glad we just did it this way rather than doing it some other way. I have my goosebumps are up and my hair is going. All right. The visual and the audio. You go for it. Tell me. I mean, we have the powerful lyrics. We have the powerful tracks.
Yeah.
We have the powerful chords that you're playing, and then you throw this visual out there and just talk me through it, man. Because that was an art.
Yeah, man, thank you. So that was actually filmed in the studio we're in right now. I have this lovely wall here to my left. So it's so funny how things work out. Previously, most of my life, I've been very much a planner. I want to kind of have every detail of my life worked out before I ever even touch it. In the last couple of years, that has not been the case at all. I've been a lot better about learning to lead from my heart and letting my mind kind of catch up and help me with some of the logistics, but letting my heart kind of guide my process. So Reverend Grey, if you don't mind a lengthy explanation, it's kind of a joke. So I grew up in the church. I started playing music on stage as a worship leader. I started in a band, played acoustic guitar and slowly worked my way up. And when I graduated high school, I got hired at the church I grew up in to be an assistant to a worship leader. So I took over some of his duties and started leading worship myself. I went to a Bible college. I have a degree in English. But in college, my beliefs started changing. I started to question my worldview. And it led me to go around and explore some different faiths. I tried different church services in a lot of different denominations just to see how they did things and hear their music and see their architecture. And it led me away from church. I was really burnt out. Bible school, I was a Bible club leader in high school. Bible college, worked in a church. I was about churched out, man. Really burnt out on spirituality and anyone really telling me what to do for a long time. When I left school, I moved out of my house, got my own place in Dallas. And for a long time, I was very spiritually apathetic. I wanted nothing to do with anyone talking about anything that had to do with theology or morality or spirituality. I was sick of it. And for a long time, I was kind of just floating. I don't know if you've ever experienced the death of a worldview, but when you're raised in it, it's kind of ingrained in every cell of your DNA. It's the filter with which you experience all of reality. And losing that was devastating for me for a very long time. During the pandemic, though, I started reading some new books. I was introduced to a book of Chinese poetry called the Tao Te Ching. It's the central text of Taoism. It's not prescriptive in any way. It's kind of frustrating if you want it to tell you what to do with your life because it refuses to. And it says that the more you try to describe truth with words, the farther away you get from it. And it introduced me to the idea of non-duality. So maybe things aren't good or bad. Maybe things just are. At any given moment, they are both. And you don't have light without dark, and they are mutually arising. As soon as dark enters the room, so does light. They always exist in the same place to differing degrees. And I had, as a Western-brained person, born out of a Western religion, that was like shattering to my brain and incredibly frustrating and difficult to try to conceive this Eastern way of thinking, that two seemingly totally opposite things could exist in the same place. But it led me down a path of self-discovery and exploration of curiosity. It led me to the conclusion that maybe truth isn't black and white. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Maybe it's gray. So I came up with this idea of releasing music under the name of Reverend Grey as kind of a nod to my former job working in a church, and a nod to my future of exploring truth in this kind of gray area. So it's kind of a joke to me, at least It makes me laugh when I think about it, but it's this concept of finding truth in between the black and white. So Let Me Out, the song, as you mentioned, the visual and the audio are kind of striking. That gray mask and the cowboy hat and the vest, and it's funny, I have it all around me here, and these little pearls I wear to kind of look like a priest collar. They're sort of my character visually that I've created for Reverend Grey. I haven't posted many videos wearing the outfit because I'm not exactly sure how I want to yet. I'm still sort of exploring what the character feels like. I've done 2 or 3, in the suit and then the music video. But Let Me Out, the idea of the song, it starts out saying, "Taste the dark with me. You've learned to hide, now seek, and you won't be alone anymore." It was this idea that for much of my life, I was prescribed what I should feel and think about things. And when I left the church, I felt a deep resentment because I felt as though I had never cultivated taste of my own in any way. Like I was restricted in the music I could listen to, the TV shows and the movies that I could watch. And I was so angry because I felt as though I didn't know what I even thought about anything. I didn't know how to formulate opinions because I always passed them through a filter of, does this line up with scripture? Is this something Jesus would do? What would my pastor say about this? What would my parents think about this? Should I be doing this? Is this right or wrong? Is how I approached every single decision, from like where I ate lunch to like what I texted back to a friend, all of my decisions were passed through this filter of what should I do, not what do I want to do. And so Let Me Out is this kind of like cry of my heart. Like I grew up believing that man is inherently bad and that without the intervention of someone or something else, we will just do bad. And so I believed that like the desires of my heart were naturally evil, and I couldn't trust the things I wanted to do because they would lead me to destruction. I don't believe that anymore. And Let Me Out is the battle cry of my withered spirit saying, just like, trust me, just listen. The things I want are good for you, and that I will lead you beside still waters. I will show you the things that will replenish you, that will bring you fulfillment and joy, and that you can trust the desires of your heart because they are good, because your heart wants you to thrive and to survive and be surrounded by light and love. And that if you just listen, if you just trust, even though you don't understand, your heart will always lead you in the right direction. So that's what Let Me Out's about. It's let me out and we can fight together.
I love it. And in the spirit of everything we're talking about, I'm gonna rush this production actually and get this done tonight and try to send over a draft and try to release this tomorrow. I think
Awesome,
since
man.
you released the music video, it'd be awesome to get the story behind the video at
Yeah.
the same time. So I think if we time that out, that'd be perfect.
That's so
Yeah.
funny how things work out. I've been sitting on that video for a while. I've had it done. And I'm like, okay, I just need to get this video out now because I have a new song coming out and I'll have to promote that one next. And so I made this arbitrary decision to release that music video yesterday. I can't tell you why I chose yesterday. It was just a normal Wednesday night or Tuesday night, It's not a time you release
That
a music
wasn't
video.
planned. That wasn't planned.
Not really.
Yes, that's
Not
awesome.
really. I'm telling
That is
you, I'm
awesome.
just flying by the seat of my pants here. And then even today, choosing this date to talk to you about it was kind of arbitrary, I mean, it kind of felt good to do it today. I was like, well, I'm off of work tomorrow. I'm already working on some other stuff. Might as well like not push this out into next week. I know I have time now. Why not just do it now? I even had the thought like, is tomorrow too soon? We just talked about this. Are you really gonna want to do? Are you really
We gotta
gonna
go
want
with
to do it tomorrow?
we gotta go with the old 3-day rule.
I just did it though, and
That's
I
the
think
point,
all
man.
of these-
That's the point. You took the
I
leap.
know.
You had the open mind, and you did it.
That's
and
it.
guess what? We're about to make some magic because I'm going to edit this tonight, and then
Yeah.
we can release those together, the story and the video.
Yeah.
And if it goes well, let's do it on the next one. The next one you release, let's talk about the song. We get the story
love
behind the
to.
song, and we can co-release every time, man.
Would love that, man.
That's
It's
awesome,
not.
dude.
It feels arbitrary, but it really isn't. Things are synergistic. They're connected.
I'm gonna ride this wave of energy, and hey, I appreciate you taking the time today. I will send you this draft tonight. Please,
Awesome.
once more, let everybody know the handles they can get in touch with you to get in touch with your art.
Absolutely. On your favorite streaming service, I'm Reverend Grey, Grey. I think it's the British spelling. On Instagram, where I update the most, I'm at thereverendgrey. Be very easy to find me there. I have links to my Spotify. I release music under the name Warren Weitner as well. If you find one, you'll find the other. They're always connected, especially on Spotify. So thank you very much, Nate, for having me.
Excellent, Warren. I'll be in touch in a few hours. Thank you so much for your time and your story. Thank you for your story.
Look forward to it. I'll
You're
talk
looking
to
for
you
a way to
soon.
grow your business, reach new customers, and increase your sales? If so, you need the FreeMind Group, founded in 2008 and a provider of creative and strategic solutions for the food and beverage industry. Whether you need branding, marketing, product development, or innovation, the FreeMind Group can help you achieve your goals and unleash your potential. Visit our website at theFreeMindGroup.com and get a free consultation today. Thank you for listening. See you next time.